All right. So good afternoon, all of you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Chandrasekhar Ramamurthy. I am actively collaborating with Greater Insights. Right. A little bit about me. I have my own company called Native AI, which specializes in providing consulting solutions on Gen AI, large language models, machine learning, deep learning, NLP, etc. And I also have conducted training for a number of people. I'm a regular trainer for, um, I did for Hitachi, Vantara, then Intuit, Toshiba. I've done almost 14 batches for Intuit, and I'm still a regular trainer. Then Toshiba, I have done about 6 batches, and I'm still training for them. Then Infovision, I'm losing track of all the companies. Samsung, Qualcomm had done about 20 batches, and I'm still training them. And a lot of those companies, right? You can check up those from my LinkedIn profile. And I also am associated as a guest faculty with number of other universities. I'm also associated with Great Learning, where I conduct training for all the subjects starting from math, statistics, Python, and machine learning, deep learning, NLP, transformer, Gen AI, right? And I also conduct training both for hardcore techies as well as people who are not who are from business and heads of departments who may not be very technically required to know the stuff. Okay, so that's about me. And this is going to be a brief 1 hour intro on what we can do on Gen AI, right? And as this is a webinar, we have only 1 hour. I will not ask you to introduce yourself because it will take 1 hour just to know all of you. So instead, I will go dive right into my presentation, right? I'll try to keep it as interactive as possible, given that there are 79 people. We may not be very interactive, right? So if you have any questions at any point of time, you can try and ask me directly at that time, or give you some time for Q&A. You can note down your questions, and then you can type your questions in the chat and ask me in the end. All right. So shall we get started, folks? Okay. Soumya asked this. Manish, can you answer this question? Yeah. Yes. All right. So let me share my screen. Okay. So can you see my screen, folks? Just tell me if you can see my screen. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay. Let me close the other things, which I don't need now. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So we are going to be talking about generative AI in action. What is the agenda? So agenda is we will start with what is Gen AI, right? And we will start with Gen AI applications, Gen AI tools like ChatGPT Plus, Gemini, etc. How can we consume generative AI? There are 4 use cases. And what are the Gen AI applications around us? I will also try to give you a demo on how you can use some of the Gen AI. And this is a vast topic, correct? I'll be open to taking questions at any level of technical depth, because I will also share with you what all I am doing, what are the areas I'm researching, correct? And that will tell you that what are the current R&D, cutting edge R&D stuff in Gen AI, right? And I will also talk about what are the Gen AI applications around us, like live transcribe a call on mobile, live speech conversion on mobile, and then I'll leave it for Q&A. All right. So let's get started. So what is generative AI? So generative AI is an AI technology that generates text or can generate image or can generate audio or any synthetic data. That is generative AI, right? So using generative AI, I can create a text or image or audio or any synthetic data. And it's a subset of deep learning. And many of the generative AI models, generative AI applications, not models, generative AI applications also use an architecture called LLM. LLM stands for large language model. Okay. So large language models are used for a lot of NLP tasks. My research, I specialize in large language models and NLP, folks. So I won't, but in this case, it's just an introductory 1 hour. I won't deep dive into large language models. Okay. But I do conduct the detailed sessions on large language models, transformers, etc. Now, when it comes to LLM, it uses LLM for text, sometimes for image, sometimes for audio, but for image and video, it uses another technology called GAN, diffusion, autoencoders, variational autoencoders. GAN stands for generative adversarial network. Diffusion is one type of learning. AE is autoencoder. VAE is variational autoencoder. Okay. So GAN is used to create images and videos. Okay. So let's look at generative AI, and this is the thing I got from Google. So generative AI is part of AI, that's one. And it's second, it's part of ML, it's part of DL, which is deep learning. And in deep learning, you have large language models, as you can see in this circle. And you have generative AI, which uses large language models. Generative AI also uses other aspects like GAN, VAE, autoencoder. Those are the unrepresented others in this circle, which I'm highlighting with my cursor. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get into what is machine learning because that's not the scope of this presentation, folks, in this webinar. Okay. We use generative AI a lot. So this is the foundation of generative AI. What is deep learning? Deep learning is based upon a neural network. Neural network means it has a layered learning. Correct? And from that layered learning, we can solve a lot of problems like object detection. So given an image as I've given here, let's say this is the image of a dog, this image of a person, using deep learning object detection models, you can find out that this object, which I have drawn, which I'm highlighting with a cursor, is a dog, and this is the region of the dog, and this object is a person, and this is the region of the person given dot, 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 dot. Correct? So this is what we use generative AI. What's a simplistic explanation of generative AI? Simplistically, what is generative AI? It's like this. I give you all the books on dogs. I'm asking you to read these books on dogs, and I'm going to say, I'm going to give you an exam. Then I'm asking you in the exam, describe a dog. So it's like based upon what you have learned, you may not be using exactly same words as that was in the book. You have understood dogs and you're going to write what is a dog. Or another example is, if you show a 5 or 6-year-old child images of all the animals, right? You show a picture book containing animals. This is zebra, this is horse, this is etc. etc. Right? Then you ask it to construct a new animal image. So that is generative AI. So when it constructs a new animal image, the child makes probably construct an animal which has body of a dog and head of an elephant. You know, And we don't say, and we always encourage the child because we want to encourage his creativity. But body of a dog, cannot hold, cannot withstand the weight of the elephant's head. Correct? It will probably fall down. We know that. So that is why generative AI is creating a realistic possible images. Of course, some images are may not be possible, but generally it learns to create new images. So maybe it can create an image of a dog with its ears pierced. Not bad, right? Or create an image of a dog with goggles, sorry, on it, right? Or create an image of a dog with wearing a pant. That's all fine. So those are all realistic images. Unrealistic images are dogs with the head of an elephant, right? Or uh, uh, snake with the head of an elephant. Those are not possible, right? So, but you get the idea. That is generative AI. Okay. So there are a lot of notes I have given here, folks, in this, which is meant for, for those of you who are mathematically knowledgeable. It's like it differs from discriminative AI. I don't want to go into that. If you have any questions, you can ask me during the Q&A time, folks. So how does generative AI work? It's based upon machine learning. So it is trained with lot of training data, right? So you give it labeled training data. So once you give it lot of training data, it knows, it understands patterns. Once it understands the patterns, it learns the statistical representation of the text or of the image or of the audio. And from that, from the statistical patterns it learned, it can create a new content. That's what is generative AI. Right? It learns patterns in the language when given the training data. So, guys, before I continue further, just wanted to check with you. Uh, yeah, there's a question here. Please ask your question. If there are any questions, I'm checking the question. There's no question. Okay. Two people raised hand, Anand and Ram Prasad. Any questions you have? Please, you can speak up. Anand and Ram Prasad. Or if you don't have any question, you can drop your hands. Okay. And how is the pace, folks? Am I going too fast, too slow, or are you guys good with this pace? Just tell me quickly. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, good with the pace. Dilip and Dean. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Great. That's why I paused. Let me continue back. Okay. So generally, how does generative AI for language models work? It learns what is the next word. It learns, given a sentence, I'm hungry. So I ate a fill in the blank. So I ate a sandwich. Right? So when you give it lot of sentences, all the sentences in Wikipedia, all the sentences in Bible, all the sentences in Gita, Bhagavad Gita, all the sentences in Quran, right? All of that, and you can ask it to predict. It learns based upon that. Or you give it the entire coding manuals, right? GitHub, all the Python code, then it learns the language. That's how you train a model. I'll keep it simple at that so that you get a high level idea of this. So what are the applications of Gen AI? So there are some usual suspects, which all of you know about. So I will briefly tell you, then I will go into some of the applications I have built using Gen AI, right? So you have something called text to text models. This takes a natural language as input and produces a text output. So you can use it for entity extraction. right? So that is one important class. Let me show you how an entity extraction works. Let me go to ChatGPT, new window. Okay, let me log in. All right, so this is a ChatGPT. So what is the entity extraction? So I'm saying I went to see the cricket match between India and Australia at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata, right? So I want to say, so this is the sentence. So I am saying, given this sentence, please extract the entities. Entities means what are the entities? Sorry. Please extract the entities in the sentence. Entities means extract the very important terms. Okay, let's see this, what it says. Right? So it says that, okay, from this is an important one, cricket match between India and Australia. So teams are India and Australia. It knows that team is India and Australia. Location, Eden Gardens, Kolkata. Right? Let me give another example. Okay. Uh, I don't remember. What I will do is I'll open my Jupyter notebook. I don't remember the text, so I'm copying the text from the Jupyter notebook. Okay. I don't want, as we have limited time, I don't want to spend a lot of time in typing the text. Okay, let me see, there's one thing which I'm looking at, which has a contract. Looking for the text which has a contract. Second. Just trying to get the right one. Okay. Okay. So let's say I give a text like this. Then I'm telling it, I can please summarize the following text as given in I say the summary should be in PPT format. Okay. So all of you know how we can use this. Okay. All right. So this tells you this, and you can also go deep dive and say, explain more about this. And by the way, I'm using ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 4o. There are multiple models I can use. I'm using ChatGPT 4. Same thing I can do using Gemini also. So I have a own account with both Gemini and this, and I can ask Gemini to please write code to create, to call a REST API from a JavaScript frontend. Okay. So it tells me this is the api.example.com. This is the endpoint of that and gets this thing, right? We can ask it to do a lot of stuff for you. You can also say, please find a mistake in this code. Right? You can use ChatGPT or Gemini for both of these tasks. Other examples are, if you have, for example, in the same sentence, right? I wanted to, so this is what we call as prompts, right? So given the sentence above, question, then I can say answer. The entities are, right? Event, cricket, right? Teams, country. I shall say teams. I say country, colon, India, Australia, then location, Eden Gardens, then city, Kolkata. Using the above example, please tell me, please extract the entities in the following sentence. I mean, you don't have to worry about the typos because it takes care of that, but I'm more used to Kolkata. The typo. Question. So I will say the match between tell me guys, I forgot Liverpool, right? Liverpool and Manchester. What is the popular football? I'm not very good at this, guys. Football teams in UK. Forgot the names. Arsenal and Chelsea. Okay. I'm not very good at that. Sorry. Between Arsenal and Chelsea was a sellout in the Wembley Stadium, in the Wembley. Ex-PM Boris Johnson, ex-PM of UK, Mr. Boris Johnson, I'm just making it up, guys, was also present in the stadium. There was a little Italy hotel in the stands. Okay, let's see. Now let's see what are the entities. You see, based upon this event, it does not know it's a match. It's a football match because it's not been taught about the football teams. Okay. Right. So now I ask the same question. Now, what I'm explaining to right now is a concept of rank. So I'm going to give it the same thing. Remember that Arsenal and Chelsea are two teams in football. Now give the updated entities with this knowledge. Okay, see, now it knows it's a football match. Correct? I gave it extra context. This is the extra context I gave, right? And based upon this extra context, it's able to find out that it's a football match, right? And it person, Mr. Boris Johnson. Great. Position XPM. It understood that. So you can train it to anything you want. Instead of saying position, you can say, what is the government or non-government, a lot of those things you can do. So you can teach a large language model to practically anything. In this simple example, I showed you how you can, just by not knowing anything about coding or anything about machine learning, I'm able to do a lot of tasks, right? And one important concept that you have learned is by just writing these prompts, by giving past examples of this, I will be able to get a lot of answers. By the way, let me do one more small thing. Countries which had elections in last, let me look for this. Countries which had elections in the last 1 month. Any of you know which country had election in the last 1 month? Because this is a very useful information. Okay. No. We can say India, European Union. Okay, let's see whether it answers this question. Who is the Prime Minister or who is the President of USA? Let's see what it says. Okay. Okay, it says Donald Trump. Okay, so let me ask the answers. Who is the leader of NSA, NSCA, National Security Advisors for US in USA? Okay, it gave this also, but many times because it's been trained, it has been trained to answer that. Many times when, okay, so it is correct that previously it was Jake Sullivan. Many times what happens is it won't be able to tell you this. For example, if it has not been trained with the updated data, it won't be able to tell you that in the current NSA National Security Advisors, Mr. Mike Watts. So to do this, you can feed it a news article which has a lot of information, and from that news article you can pass that as a context, just as I gave in the context here. Remember, this is the extra context I gave. Remember, the Arsenal, Chelsea are two teams in football, right? So this is the extra context I give, and then based upon this context, I can ask it to answer the question. Right. So we have seen this is the same thing both for ChatGPT, Gemini, or anything. So this is how we can work with GenAI. Any questions so far?
Okay. What technique is used to be up to date with this so-called as on November 14th it is mentioning about? So it is up to date, right? The GPT what you're using. So how is it up to date? Earlier it is used to be like September 2022, something like that. It is the cutoff date where it is having the
Yeah,
learning
so it
is
is
going.
still having a cutoff date. It's still having cutoff date. It's continuously being fed in new data using RAG or something like that. It has been
Ah,
trained.
okay, okay. So there is a RAG technique which is used. Okay, fine.
Yeah, and I also use a RAG technique here.
Got it.
Correct. To if I give it the context of Chelsea and
Yeah, yeah.
Arsenal. We didn't know about Chelsea and Arsenal to be football teams, right? So I use that's how we do that. So because knowledge updation is not possible to be real time. So therefore, GPT-4o has been they frequently train it, and using RAG techniques they know, and it also that is how whatever questions I ask it, right, it uses it for its own training in a sense without changing the weights is just that knowing the latest answers. Got it, Venkateshwara Rao?
Yeah, is that RAG technique or is it called a single shot learning? Single
No,
shot.
so
Yeah.
there are something called few shot learning,
Yes,
zero
yes,
shot,
few
one
shots.
shot, two shot,
One
three
shot,
shot,
yeah.
etc.
No,
Yeah,
the example
so
what you gave is the example what you gave
it's
seem to
a
be
yeah, so
single shot looks like, no? No?
yes, what I gave is a single shot example. Correct. But when I asked who is the president of USA, that was zero shot. I didn't give it in a sample example. That you could have used RAG internally, or it has been updated using RAG
Okay, okay, sure.
before. Okay, very good. All right. So this is how we can, this is a classic way of using, can use it for generating text classification, summarization, clustering, content editing, rewriting, correct? Image generation, image editing, right? Video generation, video editing, right? And you can also use it to perform a task. You can use a software agent to do that, right? You can use virtual assistant automation and some of the other GenAI applications that we can use, which I have worked a lot, right? So one of the areas where we can use is this is the imagine scenario where a person is talking to a customer and you are having the audio clip. So using that audio clip, you can process that audio clip and convert it into text. If a person is speaking in Spanish, convert it all to English. So it involves two stages. One is speech to text, and second is conversion to English or to any other language. Once you do that, you can do further processing and find out what was a customer complaining about. Did the problem get solved, right? And what are the key areas of concern the customer has? All of it you can do using Gen AI. Previously, to do this, you have to do a lot of things. You have to do something like speech to text. And speech to text, the most common one was, most common then was Whisper. Whisper is still a Gen AI application, right? Whisper is a technology we used to use, but now we can use Gemini or even Chat GPT, GPT-4, GPT-4 or 4o. Also we can use. We have to see which
Chandrasekhar,
one.
I
I
just
have
had a
used.
question. Sorry to cut you short. I just wanted to check
Mhm.
if you could, if there is a possibility of you being able to give us an example of how to generate a video using RAG. Is that something that is not available in ChatGPT or Gemini?
Yeah, you have to use a DALL-E version or to generate a video for doing that. Okay, so
So,
we
so
can.
what? So when you're talking about RAG, right? How can I use it or maximize it the fullest? Uh, So can I generate a PowerPoint presentation by using RAG?
Absolutely. So what you will do, see, RAG use case is something else. RAG is you want to find the answer to, let's say you are building a FAQ manuals, right? So you have released a product and you have built a FAQs. So you want, if a customer asks any question about your product, you should be able to answer that. That is where RAG is used. Okay.
Right.
So in the RAG, what you do is you index, you process all the FAQs and store it in the database using some vectorization technique. And then when the user asks a question, you you use that question and search among the database, which is the relevant text, and extract that relevant text. And then ask that question and the relevant text, pass the relevant text as a context to the generative AI app, and it will answer questions from that context. So if you want to, this is how you take care of knowledge cutoff. So for example, if you want to know who's the prime minister, president of US, and let's say it did not say it is Donald Trump. Let's say it said Joe Biden, correct?
Okay.
Then what you can do is you can go through latest documents of Washington Post, New York Times, etc., extract articles talking about this, and then we talks about all the other people also. Then you ask a question, you pass that, you index that document into a vector database. And then when you ask this question using RAG, it will extract the terms relevant to president. It will extract the terms relevant to Department of National Security, etc. Okay. And once you do this, you use generative AI or LLM to answer the question on this limited context. Because many times you may not want the LLM to answer question from its own knowledge. You don't want it to do that. Because if you do that, you could get hallucination. So that is where we use RAG. When you say, I want to generate video, you may just give it context. This is the context for this, or that's part of a prompt for this generate a video. Got it, Dean D'Souza? Okay. So this is one area. Second area is where we can, where I have used GenAI applications, invoice processing. So we automatically get the invoice, from the invoice extract the key value pair and automatically launch different workflows, right? Then create a, this is one application I work with another company. I can't reveal the name of the company. So we use, when a developer writes something, he gets an error. So for finding out what that error is about, right, it will automatically use RAG and some open source LM to search the document and give the pointed error where the error is coming. And other applications, there are a lot of applications, a lot of ways you can use GenAI, folks. I'm just telling you because these are all uncommon ways of using GenAI, right? So when a customer says, I want this order, automatically, and let's say that's a technical customer and you want this order, automatically from the customer request, without having any solution architect sitting with that person, automatically create an output, create a order document, and also come up with a costing of that. I have also used open source LLM to find outliers. Right? I still do coding, folks. I'm hands-on in Python and a lot of other languages, and I code and deploy solutions for the customers also. So these are some of the solutions I have built. And I have to do this, I have used prompts and endpoints. And I have used prompts and endpoints of OpenAI, Gemini, Llama 3.1, 8 billion, 3.0, Llama 3.2, 3 billion, Llama vision models. I've used all of that. And I've also fine-tuned the models via endpoint, whereas also with native coding, where I fine-tuned a Llama model using TensorFlow, Hugging Face, and Torch. Okay. So let me now go to the next part. So as I said, GenAI, a lot of it is based upon large language model. And we know the large language model works because it has been trained on a lot of data. So some of the most popular LLM examples are GPT-3, 3.544, Omni, which was released in May 13, 2024. Llama 123, 3.2 was 3.23 billion, was released very recently, 3.28 billion. Right, a lot of those are there. And good thing about Llama, which is released by Meta, is it's reasonably open source. You just have to register yourself, and then you can use that model. The model's available to you. And Google also has a lot of things like T5, Flan T5, Bird, Distilbert. They are all open source. Palm, Lambda, they are not open source. Others, Mistral, Claude, Old Bloomberg, all of them are also open source. Okay. Now, there's also another concept called agents. So using Gen AI, we can write an agent which will do the task for you. So if customer wants to order some item, so you have a data frame. So you customer asks a questions in natural language, and you can write an agent which will automatically interpret the natural language and interrogate the database and find out the answer and post it back to the user. That's one type of agent. I have built agents using create as something called create pandas agent, uh, OpenAI agent. That is pandas AI agent. That's one. Then a couple of other things. A CSV agent. I've used a lot of these agents, and I built more agents using that. In my deep dive session, I will show you how to create an agent. Okay. Uh, so I can show you one example of an agent. Jupyter MLDL code, things ML, last modified, Llama 3, right? So I created a pandas agent, right? Created a pandas agent, which based upon questions and answers a lot of questions. I use both using OpenAI as well as pandas. Right, I just completed that recently. I do a lot of work on the agents, right, and found the answers. If we have a deep dive sessions, we can also cover how to build agentic AI using generative AI. Okay. Now, can we consume generative AI? That's a big question. So there are multiple ways of consuming generative AI. One is for users who's not from coding background, user from coding background but no ML, user from coding background and knows MLDL, and user from coding background and is expert in MLDL. So user from not from a coding background, you can use the generative AI UI directly. So you can use ChatGPT, and I have built generative applications, generative AI applications using no code tool like Langflow and Mind Studio, etc., where you just say I'm build a UI, and in that UI I'm going to build use GPT 3.5 or Claude or Llama 3.2, and it's going to, and this is the RAG data, and this is the question you should be able to answer. You can build that in about 10 minutes, right? In the deep dive session, I can cover that, how to use a no code tool. Then as a use programmer who does not have much knowledge of ML, you just have to call the endpoints, and you will do something called prompt engineering, communicate to the LLM via prompt and answer questions. Then a user with extensive coding background and knows ML and DL, that person can probably say, for these tasks, I'm going to use this LLM, and then from LLM, I'm going to create a pipeline. All that you can do without really knowing about LLMs. And as a last case, as die-hard data scientist and coding expert, you can fine-tune a model. I can take a Llama 3.2 and I'm going to fine-tune it to make it work for my use case. That means I have to give it, train it, label data, and do that. I have created a lot of fine-tuned models like this, folks. So you can work at any level uh, that you're comfortable with. That's the beauty of generative AI. You don't have to be a hardcore data scientist. You can just be a business guy who knows about generative AI app and very quickly pull together, maybe in 10 minutes or half an hour, create a GenAI application, which solves your problem. Okay. And some of the no code tool I can use is called given a Langflow and Mind Studio. Okay. All right. So that's what I wanted to cover, folks. So with that, I think we can end the session. I have completed all my topics. So if you have any questions, please let me know, folks. Now is the time for Q&A. Any questions, folks?
Please raise your hand if you have any questions. I will enable your mic.
Uday Kumar is asking, is it possible to share this PPT for our consumption later? um, Manish, I'll leave it to you to answer that question. Yes, Dolma, Nima Dolma Sherpa. Tone impact the response from the LLM? Yes, when many of their speech, it can impact the response. Okay. Yes, Venkateshwara Rao?
Yeah,
Can ask
so
your
is it few shot? I mean, the extension of the question what we discussed earlier. The few shot to RAG is a much more extension beyond the few shot learning from the prompt engineering point of view. We can say that, or it is like beyond that.
So, see, RAG and few shot are slightly different. So, using few
Agree.
shot,
Get it. Hmm.
yeah. So, you using few shot, you're just tweaking the answers without modifying the weights. But you can use RAG also in few shot because you're telling from this context, answer the question in this way. So that way, few shot with RAG will also work. I have used few shot with RAG. Got it, Venkateshwara?
Mm, yeah, half, not completely. So I'm trying to relate with that. I know that because trying to apply in various scenarios, I've tried both cases. So I'm trying to understand a little bit in a,
See, what
yeah.
happens is, okay. So first is, uh, when you give RAG, you have to tell it, please answer question only from this particular context. Don't make up answers. Otherwise, you will hallucinate. Otherwise, it will hallucinate. It could hallucinate. Many times, you don't want it to tell from its own knowledge. That's
So
when you
only
use.
that's specific data, specific
Yes.
information,
Yes.
what you have provided and created as a vectorization thing, and then you are using it. Is that as a specific data, not go beyond that? That's what you are.
Not going.
Okay.
Correct. So that way you can do using RAG, or you just
Mm.
provide that specific data as a part of context in the prompt. And you say, this is the data I'm providing you, and please tell me the answer only from this data. Nothing else.
Okay. That can be done with the prompt engineering also, right? Specifically saying, yeah,
Absolutely. That can be done with prompt engineering.
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? Which GPT model can read the storyline from image? So these are all hard to say. Uh, we have to try various, but all multimodal models, large LLMs can handle that. So multimodal means what? It has been trained on image, audio, image and text at least, right? So GPT-4o, you can try that. You can try with Claude. Claude is also pretty good. You can try with Gemini. All of them are multimodal diagram image. In fact, uh, there are uh, there's also something called Llama Vision, right? So from the vision, you can, from a vision model, you can extract what is the story, what is the caption of that. Yeah, Soumya, some slides were skipped because those are, I normally added more slides than required, right? Those were not intended to be covered. In case somebody asked question, I would have gone to that, right? So only the slide which I talked about is relevant.
I have one more question on the agents, what you touched upon. So agents are one step. Is that beyond the LLM, or it is because you're talking about like something to do have an independent
Autonomous,
decisiveness,
yes.
autonomous or
Autonomous,
decisiveness, which is
yes,
taking on. So that's
yes.
goes beyond the LLM, or how is
LLM,
it like?
yes. It goes beyond LLM, but it uses LLM to answer questions.
Correct. Yes. Yes. But again, you have some kind of like a way to analyze it and then take a independent, decisive or way, some ways
Yes,
to go
yes.
not with
So
the human intervention, and then that
yes,
happens. Okay, so that's a little bit okay advanced kind of a thing. You can talk about the LLM
yeah,
advanced something else.
yeah. It's LLM advanced. So what happens is, in an agent, you have to say something called that's something called react. So you first say what is the thought, what is the action? What is the observation? What should I do next? Right? So you train it based upon this. This is how you train an agent. Right? So based upon this problem, this is the first approach. So this is also related to chain of thought prompt engineering, correct? And using that, you train the model and you build a custom agent for that.
Okay. Does it fall under fine tuning or no? Not. I'm not sure.
No. That's agent is not fine tuning. Fine tuning means you are changing the weights of the model.
Yeah, weights and the parametric weights. Yeah.
Parameters of the model. It depends. Shahid, it depends upon what you want to do with free tokens. So if you can use Llama. You can use Llama model. Llama is free of cost. I have used Llama to create a lot of agents. Shahid. Any other questions, folks? Sure. Yeah, Hugging Face is also very useful, Nima. In fact, if you do a lot of work, you need to use Hugging Face, causal model, or you can use Olama. A lot of things are also there. How can we evaluate GenAI model performance? There are multiple ways. You have Llama index way of measuring the performance, right? So depending upon what task you're doing, if it's just sentiment analysis, then the traditional classification confusion matrix evaluation will work. If you are trying to do something like accuracy of translation and all, then you can't use a traditional accuracy. You have to use blue, glue. A lot of those parameters are there. And if you want to know something called how grounded their response is, how inventive the answer, then you have something called Llama index. There are other performance measures. So I can't cover all that in this. So Swami, I didn't understand. How can we implement AI in PPT and Excel for advanced operations? So you can ask it to generate a PPT based upon the content. So one is you have a book of knowledge, and given this book of knowledge, you say, take this as a context and generate a PPT. Correct. And you have this data, please convert this, put this data into Excel format. I've done that. It's all depends upon how you are, what is the use case. Soumya. Any other questions? Dean, you asked me a question earlier. I'm not sure whether you got the answer, but if you have not, you can ask me again that question. I think you were the first to ask me a question in the beginning of the session about image, video generation, something like that, right, Dean? If that question is answered, well and good. Otherwise, you can ask me that again to get clarification. You can use DALL-E. That you have to investigate, Dean. I may not be aware of the tools. You just have to explore. I know about DALL-E. You can use Midjourney, Stability. We can use that. There are a lot of video generation tools. You can explore that.
Well, thanks a lot for that, Chandrasekhar. I think you answered my question invariably when Soumya had asked you if we can use AI to create a PowerPoint presentation. So what I understand from your answer was that if I have context, I just feed that into the AI and then ask, yes, and then ask AI using that the material that I fed it to convert that into a PowerPoint presentation.
Correct.
Okay, cool. That's it. Thanks a lot for
sure
this session today.
Sure, you're welcome.